When you picture like highly trained federal law enforcement agents filing an official incident report, you expect a certain level of, I don't know, sterile precision.
Right, very clinical. You expect super objective language.
Exactly. But then you read this declassified report from 2023, and these agents are describing a glowing anomaly in the sky. And the official on-the-record description they actually chose to write down is that it looked like, quote, the Eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
Which is just incredible.
Right, or they said maybe an orange storm electrified bowling ball.
It is the absolute definition of a bureaucratic vocabulary failure. I mean, honestly, it perfectly highlights what happens when human perception pushes right up against something that just totally defies standard operating procedure.
Yeah, you end up with Middle Earth and, like, mid-tier bowling equipment in a highly classified national security document.
It really is glorious absurdity, and it's exactly why we're here today.
Totally. So welcome to the deep dive. For you listening right now, sitting here at the table with us, today is May 12, 2026, and we are unpacking something genuinely monumental.
Yeah.
The government has just dumped this massive trove of declassified UAP files, unidentified anomalous phenomena, onto a brand new digital portal. It's war.gov UFO.
And we grabbed you to sit down with us because, well, we need to talk about what is actually in here. Because the sheer volume and, like, the granularity of what we're looking at is staggering.
It's a lot.
We are peeling back the layers on 162 newly declassified files today. We're talking 120 PDFs, 28 videos that run for a collective 41 minutes, and 14 standalone image files.
And just to set the ground rules for you listening, our mission today isn't to, put on tinfoil hats and definitively prove that aliens exist. That is not what this is about.
No, not at all.
We are looking at this to uncover the fascinating and honestly often hilarious reality of how a massive bureaucracy attempts to catalog the completely impossible.
Right.
Because when you read about an orange bowling ball floating in the sky, you have to wonder what is actually happening to human cognition in that exact moment.
That is such a crucial framing. These files basically act as a mirror. The Eye of Sauron incident perfectly captures how our brains struggle and often just completely fail to process entirely unknown visual data.
Yeah, we default to what we know.
Exactly. We reach for pop culture, we reach for sports equipment.
So let's actually unpack the mechanics of that specific 2023 incident in the Western United States.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just like a brief flash in the sky that one guy saw.
No, this involved multiple teams of federal law enforcement agents, and they were watching this anomaly over a 2-day period.
2 whole days.
Yeah. And it wasn't just a static orb either. They described this large orange, what they called a mother orb, actively emitting smaller red orbs in clusters of 2 to 4.
Which is terrifying.
But here is where the perception issue really kicks in. Because they were watching this sequentially from different vantage points, the official file notes that they couldn't even determine if it was a single orange mother orb or if there were multiple orange orbs out there releasing these red clusters.
Which really raises the question of how human depth perception works, or I guess how it totally fails.
Right.
Like if you are looking at a featureless glowing light against a completely dark sky, you have 0 reference points. You don't know if it's the size of a car a mile away or the size of a marble 10 feet away.
Precisely. It's the parallax effect.
Right.
Or really the lack thereof.
Explain that a bit.
So without atmospheric cues or background objects to provide scale, the human eye just cannot accurately judge distance or size. Your brain is guessing based on nothing.
Wait, it gets better, because while a human eye fails, you'd think our high-end sensors would step up, right?
You would think.
So let's look at the September 2023 FBI interview with a drone pilot. This pilot reported a linear object that was so incredibly bright there were visible bands of light inside it.
Oh, this one is wild.
Yeah, and the FBI actually created a lab-rendered graphic overlay for this file, which is just crazy to look at.
The detail in that FBI graphic is where the technical constraints get really fascinating. They depicted a bronze metallic ellipsoid object, and they specifically estimated it to be between 130 and 195 feet long.
That just 195 feet.
Right. That is a massive piece of hardware, roughly the size of a commercial airliner.
But the truly baffling part of the report is the mechanism of its departure. According to the eyewitness, it materialized out of a bright light and then instantaneously vanished.
I want to push back on that word, vanished. Do they mean it accelerated away so fast it just looked like it vanished to the naked eye? Or do they mean it just ceased to exist in that space, like turning off a light bulb?
The report implies the latter.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't fly away. It didn't create a thermal wake or displace the air around it. It literally just ceased to be there.
Which, physically speaking, suggests either an optical phenomenon, a total sensor hallucination, or a technology that just doesn't interact with physical space the way we currently understand it.
And if a 195-foot bronze ellipsoid popping out of existence wasn't enough to break your brain, let's talk about the physics of the Greek speck from 2023.
Oh, the Greek speck.
Yeah. This is an infrared military video showing a tiny speck moving at 80 miles per hour. But it isn't just moving fast, it is executing multiple 90-degree turns.
So let's break down why that is fundamentally physically impossible for any known craft.
Please do.
An object moving at 80 miles per hour has momentum. A lot of it. If it tries to execute a pure 90-degree turn without bleeding off speed, the G-forces involved would be absolutely catastrophic.
But it would break apart.
Oh, the shearing force would literally tear any known drone airframe to shreds. Instantly.
Unless it's an illusion, right? I mean, if an infrared camera is tracking heat and the camera itself gimbals, or the tracking software stutters, couldn't a straight line look like a 90-degree snap on the operator's screen?
That is the exact kind of analytical question the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Officer, AARO, asks.
Right, yeah.
They look at this and go, is it the object performing an impossible maneuver? Or is it just an artifact of the sensor system recording it?
Yeah, the camera glitching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you add in another report from the East China Sea, where military sensors tracked a literal quote-unquote football-shaped object, you really have to look at the data collection methods.
Which brings me right back to the vocabulary problem.
Yeah.
Like, are we just hitting the absolute limits of human vocabulary here?
How do you mean?
Well, imagine a medieval peasant trying to describe a modern Apache helicopter. They don't have the words for rotors or Hellfire missiles or landing gear.
They probably write it down in their journal as a loud metal dragon.
Exactly. Our brains and our sensors just completely failing to process uncatalogued, highly advanced drone tech. So we call it a football.
It's highly probable. Our cognitive framework is built entirely on reference points. When a sensor picks up a thermal signature that defies fluid dynamics, the sensor just records the data. It doesn't
Wrong.
care.
It's just numbers.
But the human looking at the screen has to interpret it. If the brain doesn't have a file folder labeled hyper-agile transmedium drone, it just shoves it into the closest available folder.
So you get a flying bronze football or a bowling ball.
Exactly.
But if we shift away from modern sensor confusion to, like, historical human eyewitnesses, the entire paradigm shifts. Because it's one thing to say a multi-million-dollar camera software glitched in 2023.
Right.
It's entirely different when the most highly trained observers in human history saw things with their own eyes. And this was decades before commercial drone swarms even existed.
You're talking about the astronaut sighting.
Yes. Let's look at the archival NASA photos in this data dump. We have imagery from the Apollo 12 mission in 1969 and the Apollo 17 mission in December 1972.
The lunar triangles.
Yeah. They show these unexpected, quote, areas of interest right above the moon's surface. Specifically, 3 distinct dots hovering in a triangular formation in the lunar sky.
What's really compelling there is the environment itself. The moon has no atmosphere.
Right.
Meaning no weather balloons, no birds, no atmospheric optical illusions to confuse a camera, yet there are structured formations captured on film.
And the Gemini mission transcript from 1965 is even more intense. You have astronauts Frank Borman and James Lovell, who are, by the way, 2 of the most stoic, highly trained pilots of the entire 20th century.
Absolutely.
They radio the Manned Spacecraft Center to report hundreds of particles flying past their spacecraft.
And we have to really analyze why Borman's testimony matters so much in this context, because ground control initially just suggested he was seeing his own booster debris.
Classic ground control.
Right, but Borman explicitly confirms it is absolutely not booster debris.
He would know.
An astronaut understands orbital mechanics intimately. They know exactly what their own debris looks like, how it travels in relation to their craft, how the sunlight reflects off it. He was looking at an independent space swarm.
But could human perception be falling for the exact same optical illusion in the vacuum of space as it does over the western United States?
How so?
Well, if a piece of ice is 2 feet away from the capsule window and a massive craft is 2 miles away in space, wouldn't they look exactly the same?
That is the ultimate paradox of space observation. Without an atmosphere to scatter light, distance is entirely relative. Your depth perception is basically zero.
Right.
But what gives these historical accounts so much weight isn't just the astronauts. We have seasoned politicians and intelligence officers seeing things too.
Take the incident with the senator in 1955.
Oh, Senator Richard Russell. At the time, he was the chair of the Armed Services Committee. This guy is on a train traveling through the Soviet Union, looks out the window, and reports seeing flying disc aircraft.
And the U.S. air attaché didn't just quietly bury this report to save face. They officially categorized the senator as an excellent source.
Wow. And if you track the timeline back even further, to 1948, you find a top-secret Air Force report regarding recurring objects over Europe. U.S. intelligence officers actually consulted Swedish intelligence about it.
The Swedish report is fascinating.
It is. The Swedes concluded that the phenomena showed, and I'm quoting the translation here, high technical skill which cannot be credited to any presently known culture on Earth.
This is simultaneously impressive and completely ridiculous.
Yes. I mean, think about the cognitive dissonance here for a second. If a sitting U.S. senator, Apollo astronauts on the literal moon, and allied intelligence agencies couldn't get definitive answers back then, what does the government actually know?
That's the million-dollar question.
Are they sitting on some grand unified theory of everything, or are they just hoarding question marks in a highly classified vault?
It is overwhelmingly the latter. And the funny thing is, they don't hide this in some cinematic sci-fi vault with laser grids. They bury it in forms.
Bureaucracy.
Yes, the government hoards question marks through a staggering, almost incomprehensible amount of paperwork.
Which actually brings us to the mechanics of this 2026 data dump. Like, how did we get these 162 files in the first place? Let's explain the bureaucracy of it all to you.
Right, the Pete Peresu Initiative.
Yes, which stands for Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters. It's this massive interagency effort being led by the newly minted Department of War and AARO.
And to impartially establish the bureaucratic catalyst for all of this, this massive rolling disclosure was triggered by President Donald Trump. He posted a directive on Truth Social asking, quote, what the hell is going on?
All caps.
All caps. And he explicitly directed agencies to release files related to UAPs. This whole interagency scramble we are seeing, the direct results of that directive.
Right.
And as a point of bureaucratic record for this era, it was under his administration that the Department of Defense was officially rebranded to the Department of War.
So we have this massive churning mechanism pumping out millions of pages on a rolling basis. And when you actually dig into these pages, the bureaucratic tone of the diplomats and the agents forced to process this stuff is just incredible.
It's so dry.
My absolute favorite is the Tajikistan cable from 1994.
Oh, the commercial airline encounter.
Yes. Okay, imagine being the U.S. Embassy diplomat in Tajikistan. A commercial Pan Am flight crew lands, and they are frantic. They report a brilliant light doing rapid corkscrews and high G 90-degree turns right outside their cockpit window.
And they are adamant it's not a meteor.
Adamant. So this diplomat has to sit there, listen to this terrifying physics-breaking encounter, type up an official cable to Washington, and how does he sign off? He literally types, "We have no opinion and report the above for what it may be worth."
It is the ultimate diplomatic shrug.
Literally just washing his hands of it.
But it perfectly highlights the core tension of this entire deep dive. Like, what is a bureaucrat actually supposed to do with data that fundamentally breaks the laws of physics?
There's no checkbox on the form for corkscrewing light orb.
Exactly. So they just record it verbatim, strip it of all human emotion, and pass it up the chain.
It captures the human element so well, though. Just like this other file from 2023, which is heavily redacted, about a woman who saw an ovaloid metallic object floating over a tree line.
The Stigma report.
Yeah. The official government report dryly notes that after she reported it, her coworkers subsequently, quote, made fun of her.
Which might seem like a totally trivial detail to include in a classified file, but it is actually a crucial piece of intelligence gathering. The government is officially documenting workplace teasing.
I love that this exists, but also why? Why is her coworkers teasing remotely relevant to national security?
Because the stigma surrounding UAP reporting is a massive intelligence blind spot. If commercial pilots or radar operators or military personnel are afraid of being mocked, they simply won't report anomalous data.
They'll just keep quiet to save their careers.
Exactly. The data pool becomes corrupted by social pressure. So, documenting the stigma is the bureaucracy's way of mathematically acknowledging a flaw in their own collection methods.
It's like trying to file a tax return on a ghost.
That's exactly what it is.
The bureaucracy demands a standard form. It demands all the boxes be checked in triplicate, even if the subject fundamentally ignores the rules of reality. It's amazing.
It's pure government.
But okay, despite decades of astronauts and senators and panicked Pan Am pilots and literal mountains of diplomatic cables, what is the actual bottom line conclusion of all this paperwork?
This is where we hit the hard reality check. The official stance of AARO is that across all these files, there is zero definitive evidence of extraterrestrial technology.
Wait, I have to challenge that. How can AARO claim zero evidence when Swedish intelligence in 1948 specifically cited technical skill beyond known earthly cultures? Aren't those two official statements fundamentally contradictory?
They seem totally contradictory, but it really comes down to the strict definition of evidence. An intelligence assessment from 1948 is an analytical conclusion based on observation.
Okay.
But AARO is looking for empirical, measurable data. They want a recovered alloy. They want an irrefutable sensor telemetry log, a biological sample. The files are full of what AARO categorizes as unresolved cases.
Unresolved?
Right. But in government speak, unresolved doesn't mean it's an alien. It simply means the sensors didn't collect enough high-fidelity data to make a positive attribution. The data trail just went cold.
So if it's not extraterrestrial, what are the earthly explanations? Because the government actually lists the likely culprits in these files, and it is profoundly humbling.
It really is.
We're talking about airborne clutter, Mylar balloons, plastic bags caught in the wind, literally birds confusing multi-million-dollar radar systems.
Right, and we should explain the mechanism of how a bird or a balloon actually spoofs a sophisticated Aegis radar system.
Yeah, please break that down.
So radar works by bouncing radio waves off an object and measuring the return. It's called a radar cross-section. Now, a tiny Mylar balloon has a highly reflective metallic surface, right?
Right.
If you think of radar like a giant flashlight in a pitch-black room, a Mylar balloon is like a tiny, perfect little mirror. To the person holding the flashlight, that tiny mirror flashes back so much light it looks blindingly massive.
Oh, wow.
Combine that with erratic thermal updrafts, and on a 2D radar screen, a $5 party balloon mimics the erratic, high-speed maneuvers of a massive craft.
That makes so much sense. It's literally an optical illusion for machines.
Exactly. And beyond clutter, you have commercial drones, which frequently evade radar simply because they are too small to trigger the threshold filters designed to look for incoming missiles.
Because the radar is looking for a jet, not a toy.
Right. Then you have high-altitude scientific weather balloons. You have space launches where the stage separations produce weird spiral exhaust plumes in the upper atmosphere.
Which look insane from the ground.
They look totally alien. And you have satellites. Sunlight glinting off a satellite panel can easily look like a fast-moving flare dropping from orbit to a pilot on the ground.
It's all just light and physics playing tricks on us. And the funny thing is, if you, listening right now, wanted to report a weird light playing tricks, you actually can't.
Nope.
There is no public reporting mechanism yet. If you're a civilian pilot, you must report it to the FAA, to air traffic control. And if you are a government employee or contractor with direct knowledge of UAP programs, AARO launched a secure mechanism strictly for you to report it.
They are keeping the aperture very, very narrow. They want to centralize the data, but keep it strictly within official channels to filter out all the noise of public submissions.
Okay, but here's the thing. If these are just foreign drones, or literal Mylar balloons successfully spoofing our absolute best multi-million-dollar military sensors and buzzing Navy warships, isn't that almost more terrifying from a national security standpoint than actual aliens?
It is a massive, tangible vulnerability. If a peer adversary realizes that they can overwhelm our most sophisticated sensor arrays with cheap, uncatalogued commercial drone swarms or objects that deliberately mimic the radar cross-section of a flock of birds, that is a severe tactical problem.
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
It means our billion-dollar technological shield has mundane blind spots that can be exploited by very earthly means.
What does this say about us as a society? We want so badly for it to be a sci-fi movie. We want the 195-foot ellipsoid to be an intergalactic visitor bringing us the secrets of the universe. But the truth is, our cutting-edge tech might just be getting juked by a runaway party balloon from a car dealership.
It reveals a really profound cognitive bias. We have a desperate need to categorize the universe. When we look at the war.gov UFO portal, we aren't really looking at a roadmap to the stars.
No.
We're looking at a fascinating mirror reflecting human nature. It shows our fear of the unknown, our deep-seated curiosity, and the ridiculous lengths we will go to put reality into a neat, digestible PDF format, even when the universe outright refuses to fit.
It really is a mirror. Which brings me to a final thought for you to chew on today. We always assume that if advanced extraterrestrials visited Earth, they would be cloaked in incomprehensible physics-defying technology, right?
Right, that they'd be light years ahead of us.
Exactly. But if our most advanced military sensors in 2026 can be routinely baffled by a stray Mylar balloon or a grocery plastic bag caught in a thermal updraft, what does that say about our own earthly perception?
That's a great point.
Are we so busy scanning the horizon for hyper-advanced alien tech that we are completely blind to the mundane flaws in the very tools we use to look for them?
That is the lingering question. We are constantly looking for the extraordinary, but we haven't fully mastered our perception of the ordinary yet.
It's definitely something for you to mull over the next time you look up at the night sky. Maybe it's a mothership, or maybe it's just the tax return on a ghost waiting for a diplomat to write. We have no opinion.
Probably the latter.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep looking up, stay intensely curious, but always keep a healthy dose of skepticism handy. We'll catch you next time.